Life, goals, obstacles, they can make us feel like it's all impossible and lead us down to a path of despair towards giving up on all of it completely. How do we necessarily get over this feeling of impossibility and despair? Well, Samurai Jack gives us somewhat of an answer in this episode. For in this episode, Jack is fighting off some more of Aku's droids. He's getting close to a portal that could send him back in time, but once again, these droids destroy the portal, and Jack is now trapped in the future once more, unable to go back to the past. Now, Jack does destroy all the bugs, but it's now left him a feeling of impossibility. This is his 20th time, pretty much, of trying to get back to the past, but has been thwarted again and again, and he just couldn't take it more. He's not giving up, but he's just exclaiming his frustration, I guess the best way to say it is that he just can't handle it anymore. Now, he does pick up his blade and he continues down his path, but he still has this anger and frustration within himself. And the only thing that really distracts it from him is when all of a sudden his hat gets blown off his head and he goes out to chase it. Now, the one thing I'm going to mention is that you lose your hat all the time, man. Like, why are you chasing after your hat? I know you probably spent some time making it, but why are you going after it? That's just a side tangent. Anyways, Jack follows his hat towards three men standing in front of a mountain. Now, it's kind of an awkward meeting. Jack takes the hat back from the three, and they don't really say much to him. All they do is hand it back to him, and they head towards the mountain. Jack, a little bit curious what they're doing, follows them along, and he learns that this specific mountain has a mystical power at the top, supposedly, and they want to go figure it out because they spent their entire lives training their bodies to go up there, but they're not sure because no one has made it back going to the mountain. So Jack, thinking that this might be a possibility for him to get home, decides to join their group on their mission to head up the mountain. Now, the first part of the journey, absolutely fine. No obstacles, no monsters, just an easy climb until they take a break. And when they take a break, all of a sudden a goat man appears, or a stray, or a fawn, depends on the mythology you want to use. But regardless, this goat man appears and he attacks them. Now, Jack, for his part, he only cuts off their horns at first, and that seems to scare away the most of them, so their climb can resume. So, a pretty easy challenge for him to overcome. The next one isn't as easy, for as they're climbing up the sheer mountainside, the mountain all of a sudden has eyes that open wide and grab hold of Jack, revealing it to be a stone troll. And together, the stone troll and Jack plummet down to the ground. Stone Troll is probably going to survive it, but Jack is definitely not. So you see a bit of a scuffle going on here, and somehow Jack is able to get out of the grasp of Stone Troll and just barely get out of his way before they crash to the ground below. So this one was a little bit more life and death for our samurai, but once again, he survived it. Now, once he climbs back up to meet up with the other three, it's starting to snow and starting to blizzard a little bit, and the three don't even have a fire going. So Jack is just sitting there in the cold in his Komodo and just shivering. So, Jack, I hope you stay warm, man, because from the looks of it, you're going to be catching hypothermia pretty soon. Now, Jack, he does shut his eyes for a little bit, which is very dangerous. Never do that. If you are in a snowstorm, never fall asleep, okay? You need to stay awake as long as possible, because if you fall asleep, you probably will never wake up again. Just trust me on that. From someone who's lived in the north and had to deal with snow, you never fall asleep in a blizzard when you're outside. Even if you are starting to feel comfortable, that's very dangerous, so just putting that safety warning out there right now. Now, Jack does come back to his senses, and he looks around and sees that his friends are gone, but he sees a track leading off into the distance, so he thinks that it's part of the group that he just was left behind, so he rushes after it, trying to catch up. Unfortunately, he finds at the end of those footprints is a Yeti, and they have a pretty big kerfuffle. Unfortunately, Jack's strength isn't enough for the giant beast, and it looks like he's going to be ended when Jack realizes that they are in a cave at the moment with icicles shining down at them. So Jack releases a giant yell, and it causes a slight avalanche fracture in the roof of the cave to collapse on top of the Yeti, saving Jack's life. Now, one thing of note here is that this is the first time that we've seen Jack kill a biological creature. So far, that's not happened at all. Yes, I know in the last episode we saw someone actually kill some people, but that was a separate samurai. It wasn't Jack. So now we know Jack, he's not necessarily against killing something, although you could argue in the show that it was just buried by snow and it'll be fine. But the show clearly points out that these icicles were like dagger shaped, so if they fall on you, pretty good chance you're dead. So I'm just making a point that the show can get a little bit darker sometimes. For a younger kid's mind, probably didn't process it, but as I was watching, like now, like wow, okay, nice. We actually treating this as like an actual warrior that would actually take people out. All right, I respect the animes for that, and they covered it up well, so younger brains wouldn't understand what's going on. Now, with the Yeti taken care of, Jack goes back to his climbing, and unfortunately at this point, Jack is not only cold and freezing, his clothes are ripped to shreds, so any protection he had before is now long gone, and he's now alone. He can't find his companions that he was traveling with, but he continues to climb up the sheer cliff face until he gets to a spot that he just slips and falls backward to the landing that he had just been previously. And there, spirit broken, he once again utters that this is impossible. The second time in this episode. And he closes his eyes, and you could say that maybe he's accepting his doom at this point. Now, as he's going to drift into darkness, he hears a voice asking if he has given up on the people from the past, the people of this world, if he is now abandoning them to Aku. And we see some flashbacks of Jack's parents, his people, having to raise monuments to Aku, enslavement, and then we have some images of Jack growing up with his family, happy memories, good memories, just to reinforce that that is what was lost by Aku's return. Are you going to let them continue to live in that horrible, horrible suffering for the rest of their entire lives? And Jack answers with a resounding no. So once more, the samurai comes back to his senses from the brink of death. That's literally where he was. If you stayed up there on the mountain, the way he was dressed, he would die. And with this renewed vigor, Jack continues to climb the mountain to reach the summit, to reach that power that's at the top, one hand at a time, until finally he's reached the summit, and what he finds is an amazing, incredible scenery, and Jack realizing that this mountain was Jack's own, and that he had to overcome his fear, his frustrations, his disappointment of not returning home, that he had to remember his mission, that he came here to serve people, that he came here to rescue people, that he is here to defeat Aku, not for himself, but for the people of both the future and the past. So he proclaims out loud that he is reconfirming himself to the fight against Aku. For me, I absolutely love that episode, for it's a real scenario that you would think like, okay, we see this in every episode. Jack comes very close to getting back home, but is swiped away from it at the last moment. So now he has to go on another journey to go find another time teleportation device or some mystical power or some scientific device that can send him to the past, but he's defeated again and again and again. And this episode really helps show that yes, all this is real, like this does affect Jack, that he's not able to return home. So I'm glad that we have this in here. Also, I want to deposit the idea that the three men that Jack was climbing with that just disappeared, I want to say that that's a spirit of the mountain. Now Jack does claim that they're mountain monks, but I would like to say that it's just the spirit of that mountain realizing that Jack is on the brink of just failing and not continuing his mission. And so it beckoned him to come and face an impossible task, to climb a mountain that no one's climbed, to overcome. And that is a reflection for Jack, that although your climb will be hard, although you will face obstacle after obstacle, you will eventually succeed as long as you are persistent and keep on going and remember the reason why you're here. So for me, I think the lesson that we can learn from this is that if you are struggling with life, if you're struggling with your goals, if you're struggling with insane obstacles in your path, remember why you're doing this. Remembering that you're not alone, and that if you keep on going, you will eventually overcome all the challenges in your life. Just keep up the hope and keep on going, people. That's what I got for this episode, but I look forward to hearing from you guys. What did you think of this episode? Leave down in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe, and I look forward to hearing from you guys next time. Take care now. Bye.